Mike Berger. I'm a lighting designer based in Los Angeles, California. Been doing lighting professionally for about 15 years. I started doing theatrical lighting when I was in 6th grade. I ran a mobile DJ business. And from that, I was doing, like weddings, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s, like that kind of scale of event, and really found myself more interested in the lighting side of it than the music and the entertainment side. So I realized that I could go into theater and just do the lighting and not have to worry about the music or entertaining folks. And that became something that was a lot more interesting to me. When I was at college, I met Bob Dickinson, and he kind of turned me on to broadcast television and showed me that it was something very different than what I thought it was. And that immediately was like a pretty big spark for me of, I loved the pace, I loved the scale, I loved just the way that whole project, that whole process goes. And we did a couple shows together. I was interning for him, and he kind of pulled me aside one day and said, I can't promise you work, but you should think about moving to LA. So packed up immediately after graduation, came out here, and haven't looked back. Little bit of history. So I've personally been working on the ACMs for about, I think this was my 14th show. So I started as an intern, and kind of to take the arc from intern to lighting designer has been a really awesome journey for me. I share the credit with Travis Hagenbook this year and for the last couple of years. And our collaborative process is really great. We have a lot of similar ideas, but then also really have some strengths in different parts of the process. And I think that plays well together. I think that what everyone wants to hear is that you start the design process without thinking about any restrictions. You ideally want to go into a creative conversation without, having to worry about set changes, without having to worry about how long does it take to plug something in? How long does the light take to cal? Can it fit under the lowest truss that you have on stage? How many guys does it take to push it? You like to have those creative conversations without thinking about that stuff. I have found that one of perhaps my follies is that I go to those things pretty quickly. So when I'm drawing, when I'm thinking about what the layout is, I'm always cognizant of it's got to get on stage in a short amount of time. How many physical objects are we bringing on? How many physical connections are we making? Things like that. The parallel process of thinking about it creatively and practically has served me pretty well in terms of getting from the concept drawing to what we put on stage quickly. GLP fixtures have been a mainstay of the set since we started. I think that the JDC Line was really the piece of this set, especially this year, from a lighting standpoint, that kind of stood out more than any other thing that we added. We'd always had them kind of outlining the award stage, and then this year we added them to a lot of the house band carts and even some of the other performance band carts. They're just a great fixture because it gives you that kind of nice linear color story. So you can very quickly kind of just tell the story of the song and the content with that color, and then the white as a sparkle or an effect on top of it. Just being able to have both of those options is really nice. One of the big things that we struggle with on these shows is time, and being able to kind of efficiently deliver all of these looks in what frankly winds up being a smaller and smaller amount of time every time that we do any of these shows. So where the JDC Line has been great and why you see it in so many performances is it does have a lot of flexibility to it. So it's got that color base and the white that can go on top of that. Putting that in a bunch of different performances means that the programmers have all of that stuff existing that they can then deploy discreetly to different performances. And it's such a flexible light that you wouldn't necessarily know it's the same thing on all of those acts. New for this year's show, I think, definitely new around the satellite stage, was the X5 Compact. I've been an X4S fan since it came out. The form factor is great. And when the X5 Compact came out, it rapidly became kind of my favorite wash fixture. And I'm constantly impressed, especially when we get into a stadium situation like that, with the power that comes out of such a small body. It's holding its own as a beam fixture, it's lighting big quantities of the space as a wash fixture, and it's got the great color and all of the things that we're used to experiencing out of GLP stuff. For Kelsea Ballerini's performance, we featured a lot of the JDC 2s. So we started kind of messing around with some gaps in the set and could we shoot beams through it. And then I don't remember, I think I had actually been talking with Mark at GLP about the JDC 2, trying to see if there was a home for it on the show. And we went down the road of like, okay, these lights could exist on, like, in and amongst the baggage. And we turned them on for the first time and just kind of put them in amber, and we're like, oh, they like look like bags. And then they just became this light source within this artistic shape that we could play the music on. That's always the hardest part for us, is we want to get things that can be musically reactive in the camera shot and not always just look like a big pile of lights. And, you know, fortunately we had this great scenery here that we were able to put our lights into that would then show up on camera without, you know, looking like a truss with lights on it. So I think where that look became incredibly successful was the combination of kind of art department and lighting department working together to give us the visual tools that we needed in the places that we needed them in a unique way that wasn't just an arrangement of lights. Having this kind of notion of a hybrid strobe fixture, to me personally, is very exciting. I have and this a lot came from my relationship with Dickinson, but a pretty reserved, contained use of color. So trying to get, you know, 1 or 2 colors in a song, maybe 3 if they play nicely enough together, and then white is always free. So with the strobe that's got that kind of, you know, that RGB base or the plates, and then the white tube, I've got another tool in front of me always, and I can keep the color and pump white on top of it and still have, I'm telling that color story in the background while still, you know, being able to musically react with something else, or vice versa. I can tell a story in white, like in Tequila, that was a white, you know, pretty much a white number, and then I've got another thing in that same light that I can hit tempo or hit, you know, big musical accents with. So I personally really like these fixtures that exist that have more than one thing that they can do, because if I get that light in the back of a camera shot, it's nice to be able to do more than one thing with it. We didn't get a chance to take advantage of all of the features of the JDC 2, but I'm really liking where that is heading. I think that the kind of pixel era of fixtures is fascinating to see it turn into somewhat more of a video source. And it's going to be on us as designers and creatives in the next few years to figure out how to harness that in a way that is manageable. So for Jelly Roll and Shaboozie's performance, we had Heart of Stone going into Amen, and we knew that wanted to be 2 very discrete looks, 2 things that were very different, but rolling right back to back. And Amen was going to be this kind of warm, inviting, choir on stage number, and we wanted to find something different for Heart of Stone. So some of the initial creative images that came out were industrial, kind of warehouse spaces, and I had just known about the Force 120 from, you know, we've had it on shows a couple times, but it was like, this is perfect. So I started kind of laying out the Force 120s with his band plot, laid those out in a band plot, then, you know, looked at what else was left, and we built these risers, we put some other fixtures on top of it, and we uplit the risers and so on and so forth. And it really just became kind of the point of the number. And then you know, you talk about going back and forth. We started with this industrial image that came to us, and then I proposed the Force 120, and we kicked that back to everyone else. And then video wound up putting, you know, basically rendered Force 120s in their content. So it was really kind of this symbiotic back and forth of creating a look. The fan itself was on a kind of a funny, we had a creative call. We were going through all the band looks with the art department, and I had sent over this render to them, and they were like, we like talked through the whole thing, and they're like, okay, this is great, but like, where are we getting the fans? And I was like, no, it's a light fixture. Like, it's like we're bringing the fans. So it is really a scenic element, but it was nice that we were able to kind of step up to the plate as the lighting department and take care of that one. The advice that I would give, and I'll say this for me, is like, go talk to the people that are doing what you want to do. Reach out to the people that are doing what you want to do, because they're going to give you the best advice about how to get to where they are. And most of the time, that is it's a lot of hard work, but someone got very lucky. I got incredibly lucky that I walked into a TV workshop and Bob Dickinson was there. That changed the course of my career and put me on an entirely different path than I was at the time. There was not skill involved in that. There was skill involved in, maintaining that work afterwards, but that was a stroke of luck. And I think that anyone can have that sort of luck, but also then knowing to pick up the phone and reach out to the people that are, in that case, Bob, and say, hey, I really like what you're doing. I'd like to do more of it. If you see people who are doing the kinds of things that you want to do, reach out to them on Instagram, on social media, or their website, or whatever. I definitely have a couple bucket list projects. I've touched on a few of them, but things that are like capstone career things that I would love to do. I'd love to do a Broadway show. It has almost nothing to do with scope and more of just being in that environment again. I've done a couple off-Broadway things. I've been in and around, that environment, and I know a lot of people that do it. And I think it would just be so fascinating and exciting to kind of get into New York and like to do something like that. So that's definitely one. Nighttime experiential walkthrough things I think are definitely also on the bucket list. And then similarly, like a nighttime spectacular, like a big outdoor, on a lake with fountains and fireworks and pyro, like all that kind of stuff. That has always been something. I mean, I always wanted to be a Broadway designer growing up. Like that was really what I wanted to do. But I will absolutely never forget, like, 1999 Disney World, seeing the original illuminations, like before it was Reflections of Earth, and just being like that. Like, I want to do that. I don't know what that is, but I want it.